Waiting a couple seconds. Hello, and welcome to the Mama Jack podcast. So, today I have my husband back, and we are talking about him being a working dad and me being a stay at home mom and how that makes us both feel. That's pretty self explanatory. Hi, babe.
Hey, babe, what's up?
His name is actually Babe.
Birth certificate says so.
No, it's Casey. Casey Norton. Okay, first of all, excuse my voice today. I'm in Atlanta and it's the pollinating, is what I like to call it. There's pollen everywhere and everybody's sinuses are going freaking nuts. So I have a sinus infection, but I showed up. So, Casey, we didn't really think about what your career would look like when we got together and decided to have children, did we?
It was a complete afterthought. We had been winging it up until that point, and we kind of just were like, we'll see what happens.
And when we lived in California, I was very fortunate because I had a job. I was a hairstylist and I was renting a space so I could fit all my clients into 2 days. So if we needed a babysitter, it would be 2 days. That's it. And we had somebody that we loved, and or Casey would be home and we wouldn't need the babysitter. So it always worked out. Well, now moving to Georgia, I have to get my license. I did it myself. And I don't know what to do with my work, but we'll get back to that later. First, we're going to talk about my husband and how it feels to be a full time working dad because he pulls like 12 to 14-hour days when he works or he's completely off. But when he's completely off, he ends up doing jobs he can just pick up, which is normally right now Uber Eats, which is such a pay cut. It's gut wrenching. Not to put that down for anybody else that uses it at a job, but it pays way less than his job does. So it's really hard on him. But what would you say is the hardest thing about being a working dad?
The hardest thing about being a working dad would have to be just knowing that it's all on you for the most part. If your partner's staying at home with the kids, or just doesn't work, it's all on you. So it's a lot to take on. It's a pretty big burden. And when you work like me and you're working freelancing and you can't rely on a weekly paycheck, it it drives you nuts. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna Your head might spin a little bit trying to figure it out, but I don't know how to describe it other than it being a little bit hard.
So, beyond the money, how do you feel it affects your relationship with the children?
When I work a lot and I know you said not about the money, but when I do work a lot and can save up a good amount, then I can take time off. And to me, honestly, nothing is better than that. It gets really dire, and I have to do these other jobs when I haven't worked in a while in general. But when it's feast time and not famine time, that is one of the bonuses of what I do is that I might work 5 days in a row, really long hours, but on the weekends I get completely off. And then after a project, I might have a few weeks off that I can just be with the family, be at home, be around the kids, help around the house, take the kids to school, and just be a present dad, which is a really, really cool thing.
So, I have to say one thing about what you just said. You are an amazing dad. However, you are constantly trying to work at home. You do not take a break from working at home. I have to pull you off your laptop or your phone when you're at home.
Well, that's very true. I'm not going to lie. I just, for some reason, my mind goes nuts over business ideas, and I'm just very involved in the things that I do. So it does take a lot of my time. But what I'm trying to do is set us up so that I don't have to do that, so that we have things that are coming in automatically, so that once it's been set up, I can spend more time with the family.
Do you think it was a good thing or a bad thing moving across the country at the time we did for your work?
I think the only gripe I have with moving across the country when we did, besides the current lull, would be that we didn't do it sooner, to be honest. We all knew LA prices were going to go up. We didn't know it was going to be that drastically. But when the prices started going up, when we were looking at buying a house in LA right before COVID, I think it was February of 2020, and we saw what they were going for, it was already kind of like, do we really want to stay here? We were already kind of thinking about it. And then it wasn't until a few months into COVID when prices went like 40% higher, and we were just like, okay, we got to get out of here. I think my only gripe is that we didn't move sooner, because then I could have been more ingrained in the community out here, in the film community. And I just know a lot more people, and I'd have my foot in the door here already.
And we probably could have afforded a house right away because they went up a lot here too.
Very true. And we see the prices out here, and it's they're way more affordable out here. But the house gets bigger when you start looking at equal prices to LA.
When you leave for work, cuz you often leave for work, how do you feel about that? Like meaning when you're traveling and you're away from us, what thoughts go through your head as far as me and the kids go?
Well, first of all, I would say it's an interesting feeling, because I'm both very proud and excited that I have, and just really happy that I have a supportive wife who is there and wants to be there for the kids. And it's not like, it doesn't seem like it just takes the life out of you. I mean, you actually enjoy it. It is hard, but you enjoy it for the most part. You want to be around your kids. So it's really nice and comforting to know that. But when I leave, I pretty much just think about what I have to do at that particular job, and if I'll have time to talk to you or the kids throughout the day, and kind of when I can do that.
So you very, very, very frequently work days where you're up and out before us and you don't get back until we are all in bed. And that's probably similar to almost feeling like you're traveling because you never see us. How does it make you feel that you are literally like in the same house as us, but you don't get to interact with us face to face?
I'm not gonna lie, it sucks, because I'm not working, a 9 to 5 where I leave at 8:30 and I'm back by 5:30, and I have breakfast with you guys and I have dinner with you guys. It's if I start at 7 in the morning, but it's an hour away, I have to wake up at 4:30 or 5 to give myself time to wake up, get ready, brush my teeth, maybe eat something and make a coffee to go and head out. Because generally, most of my places are 45 minutes to an hour away. And then when I get back home, like you said, it's like I might be able to say goodnight to you beforehand or after. But if I get home that late, like, you're already pretty much in bed. So it's it's a weird feeling, because I'll leave and maybe I'll see one of you, and then I come home and you guys are totally out. So it just,
Isolating, alienating,
yeah,
makes you feel like you're not part of the family sometimes.
yeah. Especially if I am to come home super late and he's maybe refusing to go to bed, and then it's you've been at home with him all day, and it's my turn to try, and then he just doesn't want anything to do with me because I wasn't around all day. It is isolating and alienating.
Can I say how I feel about that
Mm-hmm.
as a stay at home mother? So I signed up to be a stay at home mom. I wanted to do that because I had two working parents and they didn't get to go to the school events. I was often with a babysitter and I don't look at them differently for that. I understand that's what they had to do and I totally respect their decision, but I'm to be there for my kids. It's weird when you're a parent or when you're a stay at home mom and your significant other works insane hours or is gone because you almost feel like you're a single parent with an income coming in sometimes. Everything's laid on you. And I never want to make him feel bad because I know he has to do what he has to do. And going into this, I was like, thought I was mentally prepared for it, but it's a lot harder than I ever could have imagined. And there are still days, even after, I got help for myself, where I'm like, damn, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, it's really, really, really tough when you are dealing with your screaming children and your significant other is away. And I, sometimes get bitter. It's like, it's weird because I'd rather be at home with the kids, but at the same time, I'm like, he's with adults and he's doing what he loves to do. and he gets time away from all the madness. And I know he has his own madness at work most of the time, and he's working and on his feet like all day. But so am I, pretty much. So, but I don't get paid. So it's pretty frustrating. And I miss him, you know? And he doesn't get the best of me sometimes because I'm so worn out from taking care of the two gremlins all day that he comes home and I like can barely say a word or, be a human at that point. And, it's hard. It's hard. I'm sure like what both of us do is hard, but it's two very different worlds. But when you are at home, you do a lot. Like, I know there are some dads out there that use their home time for playing video games and stuff. I wish that the computer stuff could stop, but it's not like you're playing games. You're like looking to better everything, which I totally get. I totally get. We're in a constant state of what's going to be our next best move. And you know what? I'm on Peanut all the time, and I used to be in the pods. They've died down now, so I don't talk to too many people on that. But I always understood more and fit in more with the military wives, which is insane because, their husbands can go away for years. But again, it's a job where, or they're gone for days and then they come back if they're on base or like 2 nights in a row, whatever. But those were the women that I was always, what's the word I'm looking for?
Bonding with.
Yeah, like we felt each other,
Mm-hmm.
we knew what it felt like, which is interesting because I respect the military and I respect everybody in it, but I always said to myself, I don't think I could ever be a military wife because I wouldn't want my husband to just have to up and leave. And then look where I landed myself.
Sorry.
It's been nuts. It's been nuts. And yeah, he goes through lulls and it kind of sucks because it's like, he'll be working, 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 and I'm staying at home right now. So I don't have extra cushion to bring in. So now we're to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe I need to get a job. But then it's like, okay, who's going to pick up the kids? Who's going to, because my son is in daycare. So he would need picked up at random times during the week. And then my daughter isn't in daycare. So we would need a full time person for her. But then we wouldn't want them when Casey's not working. But it's just like, what do we do? What do we do? It's such a random job. Like, film industry families are a very unique set of families. Like, if you're not making tons of money for a nanny, and no offense to people with nannies, like, do your thing. I don't want to be that mom. Like, I want to be super present in everything my kids do. And the thing that sucks is by the time I find a job, I start a job, I get into a job, he's going to book a job and be making tons of money and it won't even really matter. It's just going to be extra income, which is fine, but it's always that like in between. Like, do we wait it out or do I get a job? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do. And it always, that's one of the things that kills me because I know this is what you want. So taking that away from you, it kills me. But that is why I'm looking at other options right now that would allow us to be able to spend more time with each other and still bring some stuff in.
So, as a working dad, what do you miss most, or what do you feel like you're missing out on whenever you're away from us?
Well, I feel like I'm missing out on even just the day-to-day interactions. Like if Harlow did something funny or cute, or Kennedy said something, or their kind of their education, their progress, and with their ages right now, I'm missing a lot of that. So, when it makes coming home that much more special. But Harlow's really the only one that's going to embrace me. Kennedy is half the time wants nothing to do with me, and he'll tell me to go away. Whereas Harlow just wants to give Daddy a big hug. So that's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, we've been having trouble with our toddler. We're getting him into play therapy to see what's going on, but they think with Casey's job being like on and off and on and off, and he's gone and he's here, and then Kennedy doesn't see him for a week, but then he sees him for 3 weeks, that it's kind of messing with him a little bit. So we go through these periods where Casey will be off for 3 weeks and Kennedy's all excited and he wants to be around him and he wants him to take him to bed and they're like BFFs. And then all of a sudden Casey works again and he's like, gets mad. It's like he wants to be there and wants to be excited, but he's almost afraid to get too attached, is what I'm noticing right now. And I'm sure that breaks your heart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not it's not a fun feeling when you feel like you're just letting your kid down all the time, even though you're doing your end of the bargain, you know, you're that's what I'm trying to do at least. And so it kills me.
Okay, so we've established that you miss being here. You got to do what you got to do. You're trying to find another way so you don't have to worry about it all the time. I'm back and forth between getting a job and not getting a job all the time. I go crazy here without you because I basically feel like a single mother. How about us? How do you feel our relationship has changed because of all of this?
Well, I think lately, especially after you got help, I think our relationship got a lot stronger with that. But I do think that we are sort of just in a cohesive survival, you know, parental mode where as long as bills get paid, as long as the kids make their appointments, as long as, you know, the lights stay on and all that, then we're okay. So, but we haven't had a date in forever. I mean, we haven't had any time really forever because it's always been survival mode. It's been like, oh, we can't justify it. But I miss the hell out of you. I miss date nights. You know, I'm driving around and I'm seeing people out and about and it makes me long for that again.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand that. I agree. I think that it makes me feel it's just a weird feeling for me because like I said, part of me wants to be mad and be like, I'm doing this all by myself. I have all the doctor's appointments. I do everything by myself. But my husband does everything for us as well. It just doesn't look the same as what I'm doing. You know, I'm with our kids all the time. He's making the money. And it's I don't know if it's the money part that affects me. Like, obviously, I don't think I need to be paid to take care of my own kids, but it's almost like, dang, how am I going to get a job and help, you know? And as far as we're concerned, we never see each other. We never have time together, which I'm sure is a common thread that a lot of parents have. But when you have a 9 to 5, it's like, okay, you have a 9 to 5, you go to work, you pick the kids up, whatever, you come home, you all have dinner together, the kids have bedtime, you have time together. We don't get that. We really don't get that. Like, it took us, what, 5 months to watch Wednesday?
Yeah.
Like 5 months because we could not find the time because I'm up between 5 and 6 a.m. and then I'm going to bed at around 9 or 10 a.m. p.m. Sorry. And he does his time at night. So it's like we can't ever find a balance. So it's it's really difficult. And I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like you would think I'd be like, "Oh, honey, yeah, hi," but it's a shit show. It's a shit show. All you stay-at-home moms, like, you know, it's a shit show. And if you're saying it's not a shit show, you comment to me and message me and tell me your secrets because I can promise you most of the time it is a shit show at home. So, sometimes I can't put on my happy face and or I'm making dinner and it's like I'm eating this with somebody that can't talk to me, and the other kid wants to eat his chicken fries and watch TV and doesn't want anything to do with, sorry, do with me. So
Yep.
it's pretty lonely on my end.
Yeah, you're basically just having dinner with two cats.
Well, I'm trying to get more into the fact of, you know, being more present with my kids as far as talking to them. And our three almost, well, not almost, our like 3.5-year old, he's getting better with conversation, but he's still not quite there yet. So I feel like once he can communicate and talk to me and have conversations, it'll get a little better for me because I don't have a lot of that. Okay, so we've been through the part where I get mad because you're not there. Now, have you been mad because you feel like I should be working and holding up a certain end of the bargain as well?
Absolutely. And I'm wrong for that. I get it. But in the moment when you're out working, because there have been times, well, the one or two times you've actually been away, when you went on your retreat, I just powered through everything, and I still feel like I was able to do most things that I wanted to do. Right? I would have time. I could do whatever I would need to do if I wanted to. And I felt for a long time that you could have done the same. However, I was not pumping. So there was a whole other factor I was not including in that. And now, regardless, I mean, the kids are nuts. There's just, you can't. But so anytime that I felt that you could have done more, you really can't. It would have been a minuscule amount of effort uh, or that you would have been able to get anything done, but you would have been giving it so much effort for that small little payoff. It would not have been worth it.
Yeah, that's my problem right now is finding jobs that the pay start for the job is way less than our babysitter would be. So that's my struggle is I'd be working to pay a babysitter and then be in the hole. And that is very humbling when I'm coming from a place where I used to make almost $100 an hour in LA. Like those times I really took them for granted and I can't just jump back into that here. It's just not possible. It's going to take me a long time to get there again. I think I could get there again, but it'll take me a while. And it's one thing, and I think all the moms can agree with me, or dads if you're a stay at home dad, to have kids for a couple days. It's another thing when you're constantly doing it because it gets exhausting mentally. So sometimes you literally have to sit and stare at the damn wall and be like, what is my life? Or step outside and be like, I need to hear something other than kids screaming right now. And mentally, I think that's where it's different is that you came from a spot where I was here and helping, or you were at work and doing work, and you would, come home, whatever. I never stopped with the kids. I went on the retreat. Before that, I had to stop with the kids because I physically and mentally could not do anything with the kids. But it was all the time, like my whole life. Like wake up, go to bed, even during bed sometimes. Kids, 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 kids.
And you're like the family secretary. You're making all these calls. I hate making phone calls. I literally have to be in the right headspace to make a phone call anymore, especially if it's important. And all the phone calls you make are to school, to hospitals, to nurses, to all this stuff. I go nuts.
Yeah, we have a lot to keep up with. Our daughter has is basically considered special needs and our son has, I'm trying to find his third therapist, but it's freaking so hard to find a child play psychologist. I've called so many places. It's just so hard to find. It's insane. So that's another thing with getting a job is my daughter has two appointments right now a week, but we're going to add a third because she's going to need feeding again. And my son will have three appointments a week. So on top of all the pickups and drop offs, there's all these appointments. And I don't know if a babysitter is going to be willing to do all that. So we'll see. I'm going to try to find what fits best for me. If I can find, a part time job or whatever. But it's a lot harder. And I was thinking about it today, and my heart just was getting ripped out of my chest thinking about it. Like, thinking about somebody else taking care of my kids during the day. I honestly don't know how working parents do it because I, when I'm I have to get this thing notarized and then send off to get my cosmetology license for Georgia. And even just getting it notarized, like, put a hole in my heart because it means that I'm not whining because I don't want to work. I'm upset because I had this idea that I could be with my babies and I could be the one. I'm the one raising them. They're getting everything from me. And handing that over to somebody is such a big job, a huge job. And I just don't know how I'm going to feel trusting anybody doing that. Like, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I totally feel you. I can rest easy knowing that the kids are in good hands when they're at home with you because you've been doing this and it's what you signed up for and you love it and you love them. So I can rest easy and, it doesn't affect me thinking about it that way. But when you think about the fact that we're both going to be working or when we're both working that we'll need someone else, I get it. I feel like you were too probably raised by no, well, not raised by, but you were watched by babysitters often, right?
Yes.
So was I, because I had two working parents for the most part since I can remember. And so, it I didn't fault them for that, like you said about your parents. Like I didn't
I
fault them for
always
that.
miss my parents though. Like I was always jealous of the kids with stay-at-home moms. So jealous of the kids with
I
stay-at-home
never
moms.
really paid attention to that stuff. I never really knew that was a thing, to be honest. I was pretty naive, I feel like.
I just whenever other kids' parents would show up at concerts and be there to pick them up or whatever, I was just so jealous. I don't know what it was about me. Maybe because my mom worked third shift, so I didn't see her a lot. And I don't know, it hurt me and I just never wanted that for my kids. I just wanted them to be able to lean on me whenever during the day that is. And I feel like with a job it's gonna take that away from me, and it hurts. It does. I know everybody does it, a lot of people do it, but we'll see what happens. I can say, even with the lull, partner wise, it's been a tough road. I'm not going to lie. It's been a very tough road for us. However, it never makes me less proud of my husband. It never makes me wish I would have married somebody else. It never makes me so bitter that I want to run. So I just crave and miss the fun we used to have together. It doesn't even have to be going out, just like the
Hmm.
joking and the flirting. And it's been few and far between because of, him working all the time. Like I said, I'm basically a single stay at home mom that has, a husband producing an income, but he's never home.
I mean, it's just hard once kids come into the mix. Once you get to this point where you're not a dual income no kids, now you're a single income two kids. So you're making like you have to make up for like so much more of the difference, and that's tough, and that's something that no one really tells you, or at least if they do, it doesn't might not sink in like it didn't sink in for me because we used to be able to do everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, we have a lot more overhead now with the kids schooling and insurances and my business stuff, but overall it just comes out of nowhere.
So let's go to the hard question.
Bring it.
Which is harder, going out to work or being a stay at home?
Being a stay at home, while my job is grueling at times and it pushes me to the edge of my limits and capabilities at points, I am not getting yelled at by a 3-year-old goblin relentlessly that is asking for things that you gave it and asking for things that it can do by itself. I should just say himself, but I'm not getting that. I might have someone yell at me for buzzing a shot, but it's not constant because I can fix it, and they're not going to ask me for a snack.
I win. You heard it. You heard it from the horse's mouth. It's harder to stay at home. In Casey's opinion, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you don't know. You don't know. No, I'm sure. I can't imagine. I mean, I'm fearing working and coming home, you know? But there's just something about the younger years that is so frustrating and crazy, but so sweet and beautiful at the same time. And you just don't get it back. Like everybody tells me, like, oh, you'll get through it. But, I just can't help but think, like, you don't get it back. Like after my whole thing with depression, that's my biggest regret is not helping myself sooner because I'm never going to get those years with Kennedy back as a happy mom. Now, granted, I didn't treat him like crap. I wasn't doing anything hurtful or anything, but my brain was in a horrible place. So, I don't know. So, this episode really showed that both sides are hard. When he goes to work, he feels like he's missing out. He feels alienated when he gets back. When I'm here, I'm going nuts because I love my babies, but it's a lot of stimulation and it's a lot of pressure to do all of the things that I'm expected to do. Plus, start thinking about having a job on top of it. Any ending words, babe?
You got this. Just stick with it. Don't lose your shit.
Babe, I think you need to take your own advice.
I'm saying this for me to listen to it.
It's his mantra that we're going to write on his mirror right after we're done with this because he's the king of losing his shit. So I called him out. I called him out. But we both lose our shit at times and we're good at bringing each other back in and giving each other the space. I think that's what's most important is just talking to your partner and understanding what they're going through and trying to sympathize with what they're going through, even what you're going through is super hard too. It's like your partners. If you're not married, but you have kids together, whatever, you're still deciding to be with this person. So take it easy on each other. Most of the time, when husbands don't do stuff they're supposed to do, it's because their brains don't work like our brains do. Like when Casey walks past a kid's hoodie on the floor 16,000 times and doesn't put it in the laundry.
Sometimes I think that's just where it belongs.
Exactly. But you work with each other on stuff and honestly, like, pick your battles. Like, to me, stuff like that, sometimes I will do it. I'll leave something out and see if he ever picks it up. But I don't.
Fellas, don't fall for that mind game shit. I don't know. See, they set us up for failure.
But I'm not the type that gets like super mad when he doesn't pick it up because I don't expect him to pick it up because he's just not looking. Like, that's
Meanwhile,
not.
you laid a mousetrap.
Yeah, but if you see it, you should just like I see stuff and I'm like, oh, this needs to go there, this needs to go there, this needs to go there. But dudes' brains don't work like that. You got to give them a list of shit to do. Otherwise, they're like, oh, where do I start? Like, where would you start? If I told you go clean the house right now, what would you do?
I would go sleep.
No, you wouldn't. Honestly, what was the first thing you would think
I
of?
would start in the kitchen, and then I would move to the dining room, and then probably the bathrooms, and then I would probably finish with the room slash living room.
Notice declutter and put shit away was not the first thing he said, which is what most women would do.
I didn't know I needed a term for it. I just said I would go through those rooms and clean them. I'm not just gonna like go in and be like, yeah, good enough, and then move on. Like I'm gonna clean. I don't have a specific. These are the 3 Ds of cleaning.
Yeah, I do. Okay, that's enough. Thank you for listening to the Mama Jack podcast. I am on Spotify. I am on Apple Podcasts. I am on Instagram, Facebook.
Real quick, do you guys validate parking? I gotta go. My Uber's here. Sorry,
We do not.
my Uber's
We
here.
do not validate parking. I am sorry.
It's okay. Bill, my agent.
Find me, follow me. If you have a suggestion for a podcast, message me. I always love to hear it. Everybody, have a good day and thank you for listening.